Happy birthday, darling baby boy. You're old enough to know the truth.
I have a dad from a city called New York.
So in making an enemy for Arlo, you chose a sort of hillbilly type. And
Yeah.
you have Felicia, hilariously voiced by Jonathan Van Ness. Was there any discussion, especially in these more sensitive times, that any
Yeah.
character types might offend or be too much? Or
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'll start with Jonathan. That was a big one for me. I don't know what Felicia would have been if Jonathan hadn't played Felicia. I think it would have been a very different character and casting altogether. I actually invited Jonathan in early to help craft the character because I was concerned that I wanted him so badly. There was something, we were in development. I took the character design. I was playing Queer Eye clips, and I was like, "This is perfect. This is so good. We have to make this work." And but I thought, I don't want this to be a stereotype. I don't want this to be something that he feels we're boxing in his personality or the LGBTQ community into some kind of character, and then we're asking him to represent that, right? So that's not for me to decide. That's not my narrative. And so it was very important to me to have a discussion early and say, hey, will you come in and work with us on this character? Will you develop this character with me? And we'll go through character design. We'll talk about pronouns. We'll talk about language. We'll talk about all of these things. And I wanted him to know that, like, at any point in the process, he could influence that decision or say, you know what, I don't like this portrayal, or I think this is, and I was like, this is an open room. This is your character now. So this is, like me giving this to you. Let's like do this together. He was very open and fun about it because I just didn't want it to be, we're laughing at that character so much as like, it's a really fun character. It should be a really fun character, but it has to be done honestly. So it was very important to me to do that through him. The bad guys, yeah. I thought about it a lot. I think they're fun. I think they're lovable. And that's what I think at the end of the day. And they do sort of have their lesson. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough to tell stories right now. I think we've all grown up with all of these tropes and sort of ideas of what characters should be. And, I think we went back and like looked at Pete's Dragons, the bad guy in Pete's Dragon and stuff. And like that's, and they're kind of riffing on that. I tried to be fair to them in that they do have a heart. They're a really fun duo. But yes, they're, it's a fine line to walk.
if Arlo and his gang were part of any cartoon universe in another time, where do you think they best fit in? As Warner Brothers style shorts, Saturday morning TV, or maybe an early Disney feature film, and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think there's such an amalgamation of all of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's kind of trying to create a new classic if we do it right. I think there may be more on that Warner Brothers-ish. They're pushed. They're more pushed than Disney. Like Disney did some weird stuff for sure, but it was usually the protagonists were like fairly put together. You look at like Alice in Wonderland is a perfect example of like, here's this, this girl who's so pure, like demure and proper, and in this world full of madness.
Right.
And so I could see it. I think it's in a new little place, but it does maybe lean more towards like, it's not so wacky that they're blowing their duckbills off or anything, but yeah, I'll if I had to pick one of the three, like I would say that. But if I had to pick, like if I could add Muppets in there, then I would say Muppets.
Right, of course. Finally, what type of audience heart do you wish to infiltrate with the philosophy of Arlo and his adventures? And what type of kid do you hope empathizes with Arlo and his feeling of trying to belong?
I hope all kids, like I'm one of those people that I think if I was a musician, and I did write a lot of the music, I'm a pop musician, I want to tell, like, I want, like, the Beatles are the best example of a pop group that had substance, that knew what they were doing, and they could craft beautiful music, they could play their instruments, they could do, so like that is my goal with animation. I want to affect as many people as possible. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to not necessarily, it's not a lesson to teach, there is a lesson here. There's a great lesson, and I think hopefully it inspires conversation. But at the end of the day, I just want families to sit down have a positive experience, have a fun movie to watch, love the music, love the characters. That's the goal. I do hope that Arlo, and I have already seen this from the social media sort of tracking and messages I've been getting, which is a really cool new thing. I've never had this experience because this is my first movie, and
Sure.
where I'm getting direct contact from people who are saying, hey, I was in a really bad place and I watched this movie and it really cheered me up. Thank you so much. Or like, this means so much to me. The character Birdie put it best. Mary, who plays Birdie, she calls herself, she's like, I'm a fat girl. And I've never had a character to look up to because it was always the villain, Ursula, or it was always, a teapot or something. in Beauty and the Beast, like, we didn't get animated characters that were heroes. We didn't get animated characters that had layers. We didn't get this like strong, you can be big and you can be strong. So to me, that meant a lot. I didn't do it intentionally to
Right.
but part of just the philosophy of this movie and the theme is that you treat everybody fairly. And so she was like, one of the first things Mary said to me was, there were no fat jokes. And I couldn't believe it. I've never read a script, for me as being cast, typecast as the fat girl, where there's no fat jokes. And I was like, why would there be fat jokes? It just like, it didn't occur to me. That just doesn't feel, that's not the kind of movie this is. So, so I'm hoping that for everyone, there's something. And for kids who are, we all feel different. We all have that. We all feel misplaced at one time or another in our lives. And I'm hoping that, they'll grow up feeling like, hey, that's okay. Like we'll find, I'll find the other person who's a little bit crazy, the other person who's a little bit weird, and we'll build a team. We'll have fun,
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.